So where are we?
Grand Caverns, Virginia. Oh, thank you.
But they're pretty. Pretty.
30 stones. Got it.
You put it on a shelf somewhere and then look at it and be like, ooh, memories. Soapbox.
Sure. Where do you put that?
I don't know how to answer that one.
Oh my god. These looks pretty.
Salt.
Is this salt? Please. Don't capture that.
What, you licking the gift shop? Where are we, baby? What are we doing? We're walking up a hill?
Yes.
Okay.
We are in Grand Caverns, Virginia. We
Okay.
got the tickets.
Yeah.
So we're heading out to the cavern itself. I'm excited to see because this is my first time visiting a cavern.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how it turns out to be.
So my name is Aaron. I'm going to be your tour guide today. Welcome to Grand Caverns. Have you guys been here before? No? Well, welcome to Grand Caverns. Have you guys been in caves before?
No.
Yes.
No? We're the first time in a cave?
Yes.
That's exciting. It's going to be kind of like Disney World. It looks like we all painted it, made it up. It's not painted, it's all natural formations and stuff. But welcome to Grand Caverns. Welcome to your first cave. This cave was discovered in 1804 by a man named Bernard Weir. He was a 17-year-old guy hunting and fishing, hunting and trapping on the hill back here. And on his time on the hill, he discovered the cave on accident. He was looking for a lost dog or a lost trap, something to that effect, but he ended up discovering the cave. And then 2 years after he discovered it, the owner of the land who let him hunt and trap on the land, he opened this place up as a show cave. And it's been this way since 1806, so that means we are the longest continuously operating show cave in America. So that means we've shown the cave off through World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, the Civil War, and virtual tours during COVID as well. We count those. I hope you guys count those. But that's part of the legacy. Now you guys are part of this legacy, so thank you for coming along. We're also a national natural landmark and have been one since 1973, so that's 50 years of being a national natural landmark. We're also very proud of that. The path I'm going to take you guys on today, it's going to start right here. It's going to be the door to my left or your right, and we're going to stick to gravel pathways today. We're not going to deviate from gravel. We're not going to climb around in the cave. That's for adventure tours if you want. But I'm going to take you down a little zigzag and then down a long series of corridors all the way down to a dead end right here. Once we're at that dead end, we will turn around and head back the same way we came. You'll get to see all the major rooms twice, so if you like taking pictures, you will have more than one chance to take pictures of the rooms. But we'll leave through a second entrance, which is on this side of our museum, and that's Bernard Weir's original entrance down. While we're down there, we are protected by Virginia cave law, so I have two rules for you guys. Simple rules, but very important. One is no touching the formations. That's our most important rule. Please do not touch the walls, don't touch the rocks, don't touch the formations. Oils and skin cells on our hands can actually be left behind, and they can stunt and damage the growth of the cave. So we are going into a living, growing cave today, so we want to keep it that way. The other thing I want to ask you guys to do is please don't eat or drink in the cave. No chewing gum, no tobacco products, no vaping, no smoking, just no active consumption, please, of any kind while we're in the cave. Do those two things and we'll be doing great. You guys can take pictures, of course. A flash or no flash does not matter to me, but I do ask that if your picture taking starts to make you lag behind, just try to keep in mind that we're moving as a group today and we want to stay together. It lets us see more of the cave actually because of the time. We're down here about 70 to 80 minutes today. There are some low-hanging ceilings as well, so if you're taller than me, you will have to stoop a little bit. Yeah, you too.
You too. Well, we'll be fine.
Yeah, you guys will be fine, but you guys might have to watch your head a little bit, so don't scalp yourself today. But I do want to say you can use the handrails. Those are there for you guys. You can touch handrails today. But those are on our staircases and stuff. But any questions or comments for me before we get into the cave?
I'm good.
No, you good?
Yeah.
You guys excited? All right, let's try with me, right? So I want to show you these luminaires before we walk in. These are historical replicas of candle holders that we used to use in the 1800s. I'll talk a little bit about them later on in the tour. And whoever is the last person in our line, would you please close the door behind us? That'd be very kind of you.
This is nice having it almost like a private tour.
Yep.
It is very much like a private tour today, yeah?
Oh, it feels good in here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you were warm and having heat fatigue, this should solve it.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You have a low f-stop. Alright guys, welcome to the first room in the cave. Pretty easy to get right into the cave, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is called the Radish room, and the Radish room gets its name because of the formations above my head. So I'm going to point them out for you guys. These formations in the 1800s they thought looked like radishes or carrots poking out from the soil above. But these are formations in the cave. I'm sure you know what they're called, so if you do, just shout it out to me.
Stalactite.
Stalactite is correct. Stalactites, they hold tight to the ceiling, or T for top. That's how we like to remember them. The opposite of a stalactite is what?
Stalagmite.
Stalagmites, right? You might trip on one as you walk through the cave today because they do come from the ground up, right? Or one day they might reach the ceiling. That's how we also remember them. What happens when a stalactite and a stalagmite come together and meet? They have a stalagfight. Sorry, I was just let that sink in for a second. You're stuck with me for the next 70 to 80 minutes, I'm so sorry. But all of these are formed out of a mineral called calcite or calcium carbonate, all these formations. And this is a mineral that leaks out of limestone. And limestone is the main rock we have in this cave. And limestone is susceptible to acid, or weak acid even. And rain actually becomes acidic when it comes through the atmosphere because it mixes with carbon dioxide, and then once it comes into the soil and the bedding layers, it actually comes through to our limestone and it starts to break it down over very long periods of time, mind you, hundreds of thousands of years. It actually starts to degrade it and make it fall apart. It also will make little passageways for the water to run. It'll pool up in certain areas, making these big voids later, because this whole place used to be full of water, and then once that water found a way out, it drained, and leaving a giant void behind. That's how caves are formed. After that is done, then these formations start to form afterwards. So this is after the fact, and these formations are from other rain sources or water sources, pulling that calcite out of the limestone and leaving it behind in these kind of organic shapes. So what I'm going to do real quick is show you some coloration, because it might help you look at, know what you're looking at in the cave. The first color is going to be this white coloration. That's calcite or calcium carbonate in its raw form. If it is white, it's a newer formation. If it is dripping wet, this one's a little damp today, then it is a active growing formation. If it is dry, it means it's not growing, but that still means that it could activate later. And then the other color that you guys should see is this reddish brown color here I'm putting out with my shadow. That is basically cave rust. We call it cave rust because it's the same calcite, but iron is oxidized on the outside of it, turning it orange, making it much older of a formation, but it's still pearly white on the inside. You might also see a little bit of gray mixed in with the white here. That's manganese. We do have some other minerals in the cave. Manganese sometimes leaks out along with the calcite. We don't have too much of it in Grand Caverns. We have more of it in Fountain Cave, which is our nearby spelunking cave. And then right here, this is the last color of the day, green. Green simply does not belong here. It's only here because we bring it in with us. As people, we set up electricity, which makes light and heat, and then we also bring these spore plants in. These are spores that get in your lungs, get in your on your clothing and things like that. And these are what we call cave algae. So it grows here because of that. We turn the lights off throughout the tours behind us, so we don't encourage it to grow. We don't want it to grow, and we usually take baking soda to it to actually take it out.
Walk up there somehow? On brush.
We will be using some creative method to get up there. I was telling them that we need to get a super soaker. I was half joking, but I think it actually could work. But yeah, so yeah.
Because you don't want to walk on that.
No, yeah, you don't want to break formations. You also don't want to fall because it'd be quite treacherous to get up these, you know, kind of strange undulations and stuff in the terrain. Yes, very cool.
This is better than yours.
What do you think?
Right? We have less people right now.
Well, that's the thing too. We like to compare ourselves to Luray. Luray is an interstate and we're the country road. That's what we like to say.
Yeah. I mean,
but
still.
Welcome to the King Solomon's Temple room. We call this King Solomon's Temple because of this formation here. Back in the 1800s, they called it King Solomon's Throne. So this is a cave shield, though. This is a really cool formation. This is, in fact, one of Grand Cavern's most special formations. Not this one specifically, but this kind of formation. This is what we call a cave shield because you can see this big plate disc shape, very different than the icicle shaped formations from earlier. These are cool for a few reasons. One, they're very rare formations. They do not occur often in caves. Most caves only have 5 to 10 at the most, and that's across miles of cave. These formations are also strange because they grow kind of against gravity. This one's growing at a 10-degree angle off of the ceiling. That's not quite how gravity works. I'll elaborate on some of our theories, but these are quite mysterious, and we're still studying them ourselves. But you'll see much more extreme examples of these shields growing sideways out of a wall or parallel to the ceiling even, so pretty cool. You also might notice, before I go into that, Grand Caverns is really special because of these shields, because we have 500 of them in this cave system. We're one of only 2 caves in America that have that number. So Lyman's Cave or Lehman's Cave in Nevada is the only other one, and we both seem to have the same bedding type. So I'll talk about that soon real quick, but we think that has to do with why the shields grow here. This formation underneath these thin, long sheets of rock we call drapery or curtains. Yeah. And they kind of look like cloth and stuff like that. So these are another really common formation in the cave. You also might see some signatures all over this thing. And that's because people in the 18 and 1900s came into the cave and they wrote their name and the year that they came by. So it's kind of like a guest book back in the day. We don't do this anymore, but we have around 10,000 signatures in this cave. But don't point at anything and tell me like, who's that? I have no clue who that is. I don't know them from Adam.
Right.
But yeah, so one of the reasons that we think the shields grow so fervently in this cave is because of our bedding orientation. Both us and Lehman's Cave in Nevada have vertical oriented bedding. That's not normal. Most bedding should be horizontal, kind of stacked on top of each other like a cake. But if you guys would look up in that direction, I'll light it up very soon, you're gonna see that there's vertical lines running up and down in this room. And this shows you that Grand Caverns is sideways. This was due to a tectonic shift, a mountain building event, the same one that occurred in the Appalachian Mountains, where basically before it was a cave, Grand Caverns, its bedding, rolled on top of another tectonic plate until it became 90 degrees. And this seems to create a lot of shield growth. Again, more on that as we go into the dead end. Yeah, you're looking at a baby shield here. You're seeing it's growing at the same angle as the other one. But again, this is a very simple angle, but you'll see much more extreme examples of that very, very soon. One more thing before I move on. In this direction, you're going to see some flowstone. Flowstone is another formation in the cave. And this stuff is when water's trickling down other surfaces in the cave and leaves that calcite behind. This is what we think looks like the frozen Niagara Falls or the frozen waterfall, but fairly, really pretty formation. Yeah. And this next room is going to be our first low-hanging ceiling of the day. So do watch your noggins as you walk through and watch your camera equipment. Feel free to use the handrails too because I want you guys to be stable as you walk through this darker section. We can walk by.
I usually wear boots, yeah, but any closed-toed shoes work.
We're going to squeeze past. We're only 4.
All right, sounds good.
We got a lot of people.
Yep. I lost about half of them to the bears.
All right, I'll look for them.
That's not bad.
I'll try to identify them. Take the money out of their wallet too. That's so boring. Sorry. I don't like it. And you recorded that too. That's such a Mormon thing.
Gonna be on YouTube.
Yeah. Are you a YouTuber?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Watch your head. He's like,
Oh,
down
yeah,
here.
he should duck. He should duck. All right, guys, welcome to the zoo. This room is called the zoo because we have animal formations in this cave, so I'd love it if you gave me some class participation, because otherwise it's just gonna be really quiet and awkward, because I'm gonna point at things with my flashlight. You have to guess what they are. Okay. They're all animals that exist today, so don't say stegosaurus, don't say woolly rhino.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. This creature right here, easy peasy.
Elephant.
Elephant, trunk, ear, there you go, big old elephant. And then to the left of the elephant. Crocodile, perfect. Yeah, we call it the rockodile. Crocodile.
Right down at the end there too.
Yeah, the little teeth right there. And then this creature, it's a little harder, I think. Sea creature.
Jellyfish?
No, not jellyfish, not this stuff down here.
Oh.
Just this, what I'm tracing.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that like we saw.
We have a little pearl in its mouth that gives it away.
Oyster? Or, sorry, yeah. Oyster.
Clam, right? Big giant clam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big old clam. And on the sea creature note, we do have another little sea creature. This is our little jellyfish here. And then we also have a bird up here. This is, I don't know if you can see it. This goes from here to here. That's its head. We like to think it looks like a vulture.
Yeah, or a pterodactyl.
Yeah, but it's not,
Not quite.
No animals that exist today, right? But then you have this creature here. This is its body, that's its head. What does it look like to you guys?
A rhino?
No, it's an American animal.
Buffalo.
Or bison, right? Big old head looking back at you. He's kind of giving you the side eye. We have big old bison. We have a lot of animals in the cave, so it wouldn't be wise if we didn't have a zookeeper. We're not irresponsible. We do have one. So he's right up here. You guys see him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little gnome or something. Or if you consider his guest there, maybe it's like Gandalf and Frodo. I'm not really sure.
There you go.
But yeah, they watch over the cave, watch over all the animals as well. So that's pretty cool. Any questions or comments about this section?
No?
No?
Doing good?
Very pretty.
Wild, right? All right, I'll get you to the next room then.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, this is just...
Oh, look at this. It's going.
Yeah, little ribbon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, you're dragging your foot. Sounds like you're tripping. He's like, I can't find the floor.
I can't find the floor. It's always there, I promise. No, it's
Most of the time it's beneath you.
Yeah, another one. God.
Yeah, so this is called the Grand Ballroom, everybody. This is where people actually had dances and parties in the 1830s.
Wow.
And this was a very popular event. It was done during the summertime because this venue was an awesome looking venue, and also it's around 55 degrees year round here. So it was a great way to get out of heat like you guys are doing today. So very popular. They had a live band playing in this place, and they had 2,000 to 3,000 candles lighting this whole thing up so that people could actually see their dance partners. I did want to point out this stalagmite real quick. This actually had a purpose to those early dances. The ladies at the time were not expected to ask the guys out for the dance, so if they did not have a dance partner, they weren't out of luck. So they could come in and they would place their hand on the stalagmite and wait, and all the gentlemen in the room would look around and be like, oh, look it. She doesn't have a dance partner. She's not taken. I'm going to go up and ask her for a dance. So they would come up and ask her for a dance. That's how you got dancing. That's also probably how you got married later. So this is the hitching post, everybody. Synonymous with getting married, I'm sure. But this is a custom not just below ground in the 1800s, but also above ground as well. They just used a fence post and not a stalagmite.
Right.
And as we move throughout this chamber, a few more features. One is right over here. You're going to see a little shelf here, and this was the bar. This is the place where people had drinks and snacks set up. And also it was used at some point as a place to lay someone who had fainted, lost consciousness in the cave. That's because of the corsets they used to wear back in the day. So they laid her on this to regain her consciousness and dignity, which is very nice of them.
Yes,
And then,
very dignified shelf, I'm sure.
yeah, very, very dignified. It
Entire
actually has like what looks like a
Out in the
little,
middle of everybody
Yes.
to see.
yeah, as opposed to like waking up and seeing people above you. Yeah. Yeah. And then over here, I want you guys to kind of gather around this reflecting pool for me. This was put in after the dances, not during the dances. This would be a great way to fall in and get mad. So this is a reflecting pool in the 1970s. They put this in once the state took ownership. This is not natural to the cave. We do build this and maintain it. But if you guys can find my light in the pool, if you look down at the pool and find my light, I can show you something that they love to point out to their guests. And this is the New York City skyline. And its own little Empire State Building there as well. So it's like a little cityscape upside down in the water reflection.
Yeah.
But they love to show their guests this, so we still show it today. They didn't.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, they didn't have a flashlight though, but but yeah, I'm going to show you where natural pools of water are. We actually get this water from somewhere in the cave a little deeper in, so I'll show you that next. But before we do, we have to go through what's called Lover's Lane. Lover's Lane is where all the couples would hide when they wanted to get away from all the rowdiness of the party, but they still wanted to talk to one another. So you take that as you will. But this was blasted out with dynamite because it used to be a lot more narrow before they did that. Watch your head at the top. This is again one of those low-hanging ceilings, so do beware of your noggin. So you just stop on the landing for me. I want to talk about something on this staircase. Alright, so this room, really quickly, I know you're on the staircase, but I want to point out that there's a line. Do you see this deposit of calcite that runs all the way around this little room here?
Water level?
This is water level, that's correct. This is a calcite deposit. We call these ringstone pools. And you can see that above it is one very different kind of piece of bedding or formation, and then underneath it is a new kind of formation. We call this cave coral, these nodular kind of spiky formations. And this is actually underwater formation. So this whole thing was underwater for hundreds of thousands of years. And these cave corals, they grow at 300 years just for 1 cubic inch to form. So, or I should reverse that and say they only grow a cubic inch every 300 years to make it more clear. So these are quite sizable nodes. You can see that these are quite large. These have been here for hundreds of thousands of years in this stagnant water. It did actually drain down to a second line. You can see this line barely, kind of faintly.
Yeah.
But it did drain down to a second line. Now there's no more water in this pit, sadly. The clay did give way underneath and it did drain away. This was all before we were in the cave. But it shows you that this water had to have been super saturated in calcite for these formations to grow. When I say super saturated, I mean that the rock content, the calcite content, was higher than the water content, making it like liquid rock. That's the best way I can describe it. The honorable mentions is actually going to be our little ladder here. This ladder was put in, or not put in, but we brought it into the cave to talk about how we used to get around in the cave before the staircases were put in. So this is how we get up and around in the cave. This is actually a ladder that splits up into 4 different sections. It's about 10 pounds each section, but it allows people to get up into sections that they can't get into otherwise. So
Never.
yeah, that's why the tour used to be a lot longer. But I'm going to get you guys off the staircase, so if you would follow me. To the rainbow room, everybody. I know that it's not quite a rainbow. We're missing a red light today, so we are missing that. So it's the blue-green room for you guys today. We'll fix that later, some other time, I promise. But these are where those natural pools of water are. You're going to see them all the way in the back here. These are pools that fill up throughout the year all by themselves, and this is where we get the water for the reflecting pool upstairs.
Oh, I promise. I really thought there's underneath a different...
Yeah, the reflections were...
Hey.
That's right, that's right. So this is actually just a wishing well.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was just a Wow, that is so bizarre.
Yeah, that's just a wishing well, but yeah, it usually looks like a pit to the right angle.
That's what
That's very
put that. Look, you don't see it. I didn't know that. I know, but I just thought it was a hole.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool. It's very convincing because of how it's reflecting the ceiling.
Right.
And you don't get to see those formations mirrored as well. But anyway, this is a wishing well where people threw pennies. And we actually had pulled $300 worth of pennies out of this pool because we found out that the pennies were eroding quickly and also contaminating the water.
Yeah, right.
So we did pull them out. They actually got decommissioned, so they're not $300 worth of pennies. They're $0 worth of pennies because of Abe Lincoln's face getting rubbed off so vigorously. But yeah, pretty cool. The other thing I want to point out real quick is broken formations and stuff. So you guys see all these broken formations, right? They're all chopped off. What happened to them, you think?
Stone settling?
This actually has to do with people. People came in and it was called souvenir hunting. So they came in and they broke formations off intentionally. And this was to take it home with them. In the 1800s, it was encouraged to do this. But in the 1900s, it was not so. They stopped doing this practice. But there's a lot of broken formations in Grand Cavern. So keep your eyes out for them. They're all over the place.
How long does it take to really grow? Like to notice a growth, I guess.
To notice the growth.
Yeah.
The first initial growth can be quite, for instance, this one right here.
Okay.
That one, you can notice it's growing. I don't know how long it took. It probably took over 80 years just to do that. But it takes around 100 to 125 years, 150 years just for a cubic inch to form.
Okay.
Sometimes they drip really quickly because that's just in a lab setting, so it could be faster depending on the water content or the water flow, if that makes sense. So you can notice it's starting to grow, but it's not going to heal over in your lifetime, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. So when someone does something like that,
It's
impact.
It's effectively irreversible, right? They broke those off in the 1800s, and today, 200 years later, they're exactly the same. So it just shows you how slow things are. This is a fun little section. We call this Dante's Inferno. So this section is called Dante's Inferno because of the ominous story that's around this section. So do you guys see the staircase? Yep. There's a staircase that's carved into the clay, goes up and around into a room you can't see, right? And this room is 200 feet in length, and it's a quite sizable room, and people would go back there all the time during the 1800s until the staircase was put in. And then people stopped going back there. That's because of stories that started to circulate this staircase. They said if you went up and around the bend, that your torch or your candle in the 1800s would go out and you'd be left in the dark. And people did not want that, obviously. They did not want to get left in the dark because you'd be left down here for the next half day. Because again, these tours used to take 8 hours to complete. And then they would be like, wait, that tour should have gotten out. We gotta go see if they're okay. So you'd get rescued eventually, but you didn't want to be down here for 8 hours or more. So people stayed away from that section for superstitious reasons. They also thought perhaps it was carbon dioxide fixed air, which is quite deadly to people as well. But that's until two brothers decided that they could go back there and not worry about ghost stories and not worry about science either. They went back there with their torches and they did not get them blown out. They actually did find something back there. It was a giant geode, actually. It was like a 6 foot in diameter geode, and this thing had all these little crystals inside it called dogtooth spar. And the owner of the cave had already found this, and apparently he was the one spreading these ghost stories because he was mining it for a profit, and he did not want souvenir hunters sharing his profits or the word getting out that he found something back there. So they did kind of ruin that story, or not that story, they did ruin that business plan of his. But it's a really cool formation. You can actually go back there and see the remnant of it. There is a little bit left. If that's in our adventure tour, of course. If you guys are interested, we do adventure tours in this cave. It's called the Grotto's Crawl. And you can see the barrels and ropes and pieces of equipment that they left behind. And that staircase, you can walk right up it. That's assumedly put in there so that miners carrying heavy loads won't slip on the clay because they were taking tools and stuff back there. So it's pretty cool. But yeah. On the note of darkness, though, are you guys interested in me doing a darkness demonstration today?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as I would like to ask that because I like to say speak now or forever hold your peace.
Right.
If you're not comfortable, just let me know. But we're gonna be doing that in the next little elbow very, very soon. But before I do formations. And then on this side, I just want to point out, this is just for fun, I think. This whole opening here was blasted out with dynamite. That allows us to walk on level ground together because if this was not blasted out with dynamite, what would we be doing together?
Climb?
That's right, we'd be climbing up over this and going the long way. Or you'd be going home because you didn't want to do that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And right up here you can see limestone. This is what limestone looks like, everybody. When we blasted this corridor, it opened up some of the ceiling. And you can also see little trickles of calcite coming out of it already.
Yeah.
But I say already, this was done a little over 100 years ago. So it just shows you how long it takes for anything to start growing. This might answer your question even more directly.
Yeah.
You see tiny little trickles, that's around 100 years. So it's pretty crazy.
So it's just,
And for the cameraman, this is a dynamite stick impression where they blasted it out. I hope you can see that.
Oh wow.
Neat.
Yeah, that's the original drill mark of the dynamite. They blasted it out.
Cool.
All right, so this is where I like to do my darkness demonstration. More or less stand around me. There's plenty of people, so 2 people right here maybe, and then 2 people on this side of me. That's easy.
Yeah.
I do have to ask if there's a way to turn off displays at
I'll
least.
have to turn it all the way off.
All the way off,
Just
yeah.
catching your verbiage before we shut it off. That's all.
No worries,
you're
no
good.
worries. But yeah, this is gonna be cave darkness. It's gonna be kind of funny. So if you want, I'll do the whole spiel now and then you can turn the lights off. But this is gonna be cave darkness. The darkest natural environment in the world is a cave. The only other place that gets this naturally dark is the deepest trenches of the ocean. So this is significantly safer to experience this darkness. And it's also cheaper, so good job for being budget-minded. But this is gonna be basically no penetrating light is down in this cave, so your eyes can't adjust to this level of darkness. You will be able to put your hand right in front of your face, you won't see it. In 10 days from now, you wouldn't be able to see it. It's crazy to think about. But first things first, you can keep the camera on just for a little bit longer because I want to show you first a candle demonstration. Because in the 1800s, you'd experience this a lot differently than you are today. Not electricity and all that kind of stuff. You'd actually have a candle, right? So first enjoy your 1800s experience. Because back in the day, this is the only way you would actually experience the cave. One candle isn't quite justice for the cave. You'd all have your own candle if you were, sane, normal people. You wouldn't let me walk around with one candle and try to follow me. You'd have your own. You'd have those luminaries that I mentioned at the beginning. Those would shoot the light out in a direction really well because of the reflective backings. And we used to hike these things up on 10-foot poles to show people the ceiling. You can't barely make out the ceiling right now because I don't have a 10-foot arm. But yeah, so now you can turn off the camera and I'm going. It's the hall that you can't really see.
Ooh.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my light up in the low mode, like we're with candlelight, right? We're all walking down this room with candlelight, right? And as we walk down, you can stay still though. I don't want you to walk yet. We're going to walk down, and then as you start to get closer, I hope you guys start to see. Yeah, the little figure over there.
Yeah,
so this is the ghost of George Washington. I hope your camera can pick it up, but if not, we'll just say it is. Yep. But this formation, they thought looked like George Washington in the day because it's a tall formation. They said, oh, look at him, it's George. But this is actually only a stalagmite.
Right.
But how tall do you think this formation is?
I think it's like
14 inches or so.
3 to 4 feet.
I'd say just over a foot.
All right, we have some good guesses. Do you want to guess, ma'am?
About 3 feet.
3 feet as well. All right, we're going to go down the Cathedral Hall. Welcome to the Cathedral Hall. To George Washington.
That's crazy, but yeah, your eyes can certainly play tricks on you.
And also, this is a very alien environment. Our eyes aren't used to judging distance and pace.
It is taller than I am.
You certainly know what you're looking through. We have a little drop-off that we let people guess how far down it is on one of our adventure tours, and they always guess like 80 feet. And it's like 20.
Yeah.
It's just not a lot of light, so there's just perception difference.
Oh yeah.
Unless you get a carpenter, and then he guesses it right every time. Here we go. Yeah, maybe he would do a great job of that. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Is he a little guy? Hey, little guy.
From that angle, it looked like the road, it kind of sloped up, and it was just something sitting like 10 feet away.
Right. Yeah.
I
So
guess you could say it looks like George Washington if you use your imagination.
if you use imagination, or you hate him.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah. So he's actually 8.5 feet tall, everybody.
Yeah.
And this is quite interesting. So he's actually a dead formation. So I'm going to compare.
There's a little child up there ahead.
Oh, right there?
Yeah.
Yep. So he's actually a dead formation. So I want to point out that the color of the stalagmite behind him and him are very different. Why are they so different, do you think? This formation does not grow anymore.
People touching?
People touching the formation. This is exactly correct. We did do this to ourselves. We named him George Washington, so everybody wanted a piece of him as they walked by. So they did rub him for good luck and all that good stuff. But what you're seeing, this oily yellow coloration, this waxy texture, is skin cells and oils from people in the 18 and 1900s. Yeah, it's gross. I love that face. That's exactly the face you should make. But basically, this is why we don't touch formations in the cave, because it actually makes him completely waterproof, and he cannot grow anymore because of this. You can even see divots where water droplets have actually hit the formation, but no growth because the oil absorbs it or makes it run off.
It almost looks fake because of it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's super strange looking. just to be funny, do you guys see that someone actually did draw a face on George Washington
Oh, yeah.
with pencil?
Oh, yeah.
Try to get up close. I might be washing out the coloration, but
Yeah, oh, got it. Oh, there
maybe
you go.
that is better.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so someone did that too. They signed him, they signed all over, and they did all sorts of weird stuff to him. Yeah.
Things are different now.
They are very different now.
You know.
Yeah, and then the other thing I want to point out real quick is that we actually do have other kinds of damage in the cave. You see this bald spot here?
Yeah.
This is not human damage, this is natural damage. So this is actually an earthquake. The reason I say it was an earthquake is that there are several of these bald spots. There's even one right behind you, right above you.
Yeah.
And these formations are these are where shields used to be hanging, and they all fell off around the exact same time.
Like that one over there, right?
Exactly like that one. That one survived. This one's still alive. We call this the chocolate chip cookie shield. But all of these shields were here until the earthquake stripped them off. This was before 1804, mind you. No one was in the cave when this happened.
That's all.
Other signs of human damage are these black marks right here too. What do you think
Torches?
those are?
They have torches there?
That is correct. Torch marks. This is all soot from different torches. They lit this Cathedral Hall up like a Christmas tree, basically. This was one of the coolest rooms that they had to show. So they did light this place up really well with the torches. But those black marks are soot marks. And also, this is our ice cream cone. This is kind of funny. The reason it looks like it's melting is because they put torches up to it. That's my joke. And then there's one right over here as well. And then also, this formation here is what we call the Christmas tree from Whoville.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to be going through this.
It's Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
That's going good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This formation, she's pointing it out, so I'm going to talk about it real quick. This is called the gong shield right here. This is actually really cool. This formation started here, and it grew this direction, completely defying gravity. And you can see those little white scuff marks. This is another example of humans doing their thing. This is actually because calcite makes sounds and tones when you strike it. So people were actually chucking rocks at it to make it make gong sounds, like gong and ting and bang and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they're making a bunch of music, a bunch of ruckus. We're not allowed to do that today. I have to apologize for that, but you know, impact again. Over 200 years ago, someone did this, and it's still here today. So it's definitely interesting to think about. 35 foot high. 35 foot high from the ceiling, or to the ceiling. Sorry. Yeah. And as we go through this next section, do watch your balance. This is our most narrow section. Nothing bad, but I like to say that just in case you are not prepared.
You just have to say it so it's not your fault. Got it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But yeah, so this is Jefferson Hall, everybody. Jefferson Hall gets its name after Thomas Jefferson. He was the first, not the first president, sorry, I was just joking. He was the second president of the United States, but he also was the first man in America to make a map of a cave. So that's why we named this room off of him, because he came to our hill, and we have 20 different caves under this hill. Most of them are not accessible, most of them are not safe, but we have 3 big ones. We have Grand Caverns, that's the one you're doing today. We have Fountain Cave, that's our adventure tour cave that we do spelunking in. And then we also have a small cave called Madison Cave. And this cave is closed off to the public, but in 1780, he actually made a map of it. So he was the first man in America to make a map of a cave, and he did it of one of our caves. So that's kind of cool. We're historically the first cave to have a map made of it. But yeah, Madison Cave is closed off to the public because there's a small creature in that that we're trying to protect. It's called the Madison isopod, and it's a small translucent half-inch long kind of pill bug. And it swims in the water, and it's only native to that water source and anything else that water connects to. It's an isolated species. It's awesome. But to protect it, we don't go in there except just to monitor some population density and also some water levels and stuff. But pretty cool. This is also the break room. This is where you take your break in the 1800s because you'd be tired, because this is about 5 hours into your tour and you'd want to take a break. So you can see that they used to sit on these stalagmites. They didn't chop the tops of them off. They look so polished because people were sitting on them. And right over here, some more stalag stools for you guys. And then all the way back, you're going to see a crock of water. This was put here so that people could dip their cups and have a refreshing drink during this break. Would you guys ever drink cave water?
Yes.
No.
You get heartburn, maybe?
Yeah, so what's in the water? Do you guys remember?
Calcium carbonate.
Calcium carbonate, that's right. And this is a super saturated water. That means there's more rock than water. So when you drink this water, you develop an excessive amount of rock in your body. If you drink it too much, you will develop kidney stones. And that's very painful for people, I hear. We had one of our own staff members learn this the hard way, so they advise us not to do it. We always recommend using a filter to take down some of that mineral content, take out some other contaminants as well. You can't always know if this water is pure because there might be pollutants in the area that could get into the same aquifer. But yeah, as we walk by this crock of water, there's nothing wrong with dipping your hand in it. You can do that. It's going to feel nice and cold to you. But as we walk by this rock, don't hit your face on it. We call it headache rock for that reason. So please don't hit your face on it. But the water is free game. This next section, I really recommend you guys take a look up because you're going to see one of the most beautiful ceilings in the entire cave. The ceiling? I'll show you very soon. We'll get to the tallest point. This is called Jackson Hall, this room. Jackson Hall gets its name because Jackson, Stonewall Jackson, he was a Confederate general of the Civil War, and he came in through this area during his Shenandoah Valley campaign. He fought battles very close to here, and his men camped by the river for a time, and they actually came into the cave and had a good tour. They did try to get Jackson to come along with them, but he would not go in the cave. He said he was afraid. He said, I will soon enough be in the ground anyway. I'm not going underground. So he stayed away, but his soldiers came into this room, and they found this formation right up here. And this formation is what they thought looked just like Jackson's horse. Little Sorrel was the name of the horse, and it was a brown tan horse with a white mane, so they thought it was color accurate, a great way to honor him, and also a great way to tease him. They said, hey, we saw your horse in the cave, your horse was braver than you. But both Union and Confederate soldiers have been inside this cave throughout its lifetime, which is crazy to think about. We did not get battles breaking out inside the cave that we know of. On the outside of the cave, that's a different story. We do have a battle to tell you on the outside of the cave. That's for later on though. Before I move on, I do want to show you the tallest ceiling point in the cave because the lady asked. And you're going to see from the point that I'm shining to the ceiling, from the ceiling to me is 70 feet. This is the tallest ceiling point, and that's what we call the rose garden above. And that's actually a bunch of cave coral, and that means that this whole thing was underwater at some point. Is that not wild? It finds another way out, usually going down, usually finding, if it erodes a little passageway. For instance, when it rains down here, we don't get excessive amounts of water. That means the water is draining elsewhere. It's just finding a better place to go. But yeah, pretty scary, but also cool. We are also now in the deepest part of our cave. We're 170 feet from the top of our hill. But we've only descended about 30 to 40 feet since we started. That puts you in line with the parking lot if that gives you some spatial awareness.
Wow.
If we were nice people, we'd have like a little door that opens up to the gift shop from here. We don't. That's just too much money. So we're going to be going that way eventually. That's just our adventure. I don't know. In this next room, we call it the shield room. So start looking for those shield formations again. They're all over the place.
Looks like there is a plate in the tablecloth
Yeah.
on top of it.
Yep.
So yes, the shield room has 30 shields in this area. 30 shields in one area is actually more than most caves have in their entire systems. And those run for miles. So one room has an insane amount of shields. And this one is one of our special ones because this shield is white. That means it's a newer, younger shield. It's still growing, in fact. You can even see little baby stalactites on the bottom of it. And those baby stalactites are called soda straws by scientists. And these little straws, they're hollow on the inside, if that makes sense. So water travels down the center of those little tubes, and then those water droplets hang there, and as they hang, little calcite rings deposit on the outside of those droplets over and over again. And again, it takes around 150 years just for 1 cubic inch to form on these things. So pretty cool to see. And then this is just for fun, this is just for my own sanity, but this looks like to me the profile of Bob Ross with his big afro, his nose, and his chin right there. So if you guys get that reference, he's a happy little formation in the cave. Happy. There's no accidents, there's no mistakes, just happy little accidents.
That's right.
In this next section, we're going to stick to the left. We're not going to go to the right. The right is the dark side, so stay away from the dark side. Yeah. So these two shields together weigh as much as a Toyota Corolla. We had an engineer do a test on the density of the rock, and that's what they came up with, which is hilarious. But these shields give us great insight on how other shields grow in the cave, because right here we have a very nice cross section to look at. So there's 2 little plates of rock here, not little at all, but 2 plates of rock, and there's a crack running between it. Do you guys see all that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is the anatomy of our shield. Those cracks are that crack right there is not damaged. That's actually the anatomy. So I'm going to do a little hand illustration to help you guys think of it. So 2 plates of calcite would be my hands together, and between them is a crack. The crack is there because the water runs between those 2 plates, and as it's pushed through these plates, it deposits calcite along the way. And when I say pushed, I do mean hydrostatic pressure. This is not water that's just lazily permeating through the rock layers. This is being pushed sideways out of the bedding. That's why the bedding is so important. It seems to be squeezing the water out sideways, and it pushes it with such force that it pushes in all directions around the center point that the water comes from, and it creates a radius instead of a icicle shape. And on top of that, it can push at such a force that it can grow sideways out of a wall like you saw the gong shield do. These are growing at 45-degree angles, and before the end of the day, I will show you a shield that grew up out of the ground, completely defying gravity like a tombstone. So that to come very, very soon. Before I get into that, this top shield has another piece of the story to tell. This does not have a crack on it. And it's very smooth on the bottom, where most shields seem to have a lot of formations on it, right? Do you guys want to guess why it is looking like this instead of like the other shield?
Could it maybe have something to do with that shield because of the
Thievery.
proximity?
Because I see black.
Those are really good guesses, but in this case, it's because this one has a bottom plate. This one does not. The bottom plate fell off.
Oh.
Does that make sense? So this one used to have a plate right here, and it fell off during an earthquake, the same one that created the bald spots in the Cathedral Hall. And you can even see, if you get closer to me, you can see that the center point that this shield grew from is right here. You can see the little crystallized water here. And all around this center point, there's rings, growth rings, like a tree cross section. So it shows you that they are growing. We don't currently know how quickly these shields grow on average. Again, it's nature. We don't really know yet. We're still studying them ourselves. But you know, the reason that this bottom plate fell off was due to an earthquake. We have reasonable assumption or reasonable concern to think that because there's a big stress fracture.
Right.
Right, so there's a big crack in the wall here. So we're going to talk about earthquakes now that we're in the deepest, darkest part of the cave. So if you guys would, please follow me around the corner here.
I have a question.
Please do. Oh, yes.
When the bottom plate fell down, did it not break the other one?
It
The angle is
slid.
too close.
It slid off of it.
Oh.
It slid right off of it. Yeah, it's very smooth, and it just hit and slid. And we did sweep it up later. I don't know why, but it would be kind of cool to leave it there, in my opinion. But they decided to sweep it up. Yeah.
Too tempting to leave it shattered.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe people would take
I mean,
pieces of
it did break on the way down.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the dead end of the tour, but I want to point out that the damage of this earthquake can be seen in other places in this room. There's a crack here, there's severed columns, and there's a big old crack right here next to our thermometer. It just shows you what temperature it is in the cave, around 55 degrees. And then a crack running into the ground behind me as well. This was an ancient earthquake. This happened before we were in the cave, mind you, so we don't have a lot of information on it. But in 2011, we were hit by a modern earthquake, and it was called the Louisa County earthquake. 5.8 on the Richter scale. Maybe some people scoff at that, but for Virginia, that's big. And this was basically 50 miles from us at its epicenter, and it went to Washington, D.C., and it cracked the Washington Monument there. It also did damage to the Louisa County High School nearby, and we had a tour going on when it hit. So this tour, two staff members were in the cave. One was doing the tour, one was doing a light bulb change that had gone out. So I actually got to know this guy who did the light bulb change. So his personal story was that he was changing the light bulb, and he said that a sound wave rolled through the cave system, and it sounded to him like a freight train was moving through the cave. So a very loud, audible sound, and he said that the gravel was rattled and pulled along with it. So very, very scary event, but he did get to the guests after it passed very quickly, and they got their guests out safely. So the guests probably never came back to Grand Caverns.
They have
probably,
a good story to tell.
yeah, they probably never went to a cave again, but you know.
Yeah.
But they were safe. That's what we care about. We also had to close down and do tests. We got engineers and scientists together, and they did surveys of this cave, and they could not find new damage to the cave, which is wonderful. That means that we did not sustain any damage during this earthquake. But it does ask the question: maybe a 5.8 on the Richter scale at 50 miles away was not enough to break up the cave. Does that mean that this earthquake you see right here was a larger one, a closer one, or maybe both, right? So it's cool to think about. We can only really theorize today, but it's like a little library that we get to talk about to generation after generation here. But yes, this is sort of our dead end. I don't have a great segue for that. But do you guys have any questions or comments for me before I start turning you guys around? Yeah? All right, well just let me know. But appreciate the cave, walking out of the cave, because it's going to look a little different now. Your perspective is going to be very different.
Yeah.
But I will take you to that side room and show you that strange shield I promised you.
What do you think?
It's very pretty.
This is not 70. This is probably only 40 to 45 feet tall, where we are standing exactly right now. But still fantastic. All right, guys. The next thing I want to show you, this is just for fun. This is our little leaning tower of Pisa. Not little at all, actually. But we're going to be going right under it, and we're going to be taking a right turn very soon. So just mind that. I'll point it out to you guys. This is the Bridal Chamber, everybody. The Bridal Chamber gets its name because of the big shield formation behind the cameraman here. So right here you're going to see that this is what we call the Bridal Veil, and this is the famous formation of Grand Caverns. People used to come from all over the world to see this formation, and this is one of our largest shields, if not the largest shield in the cave, and it's furthermore spectacular because it grows straight up out of the ground. So it goes straight up. It's not hitting the ceiling yet. One day it will, perhaps, but once it does, it'll start to mold into the ceiling most likely. And then as this hydrostatic pressure pushed this water up, gravity took over and pulled it down. So it actually grew in two different directions at the same time. This is a fantastic formation that we're still studying and learning a lot about, but that's part of the mystery of Grand Caverns. And it's also a great picture, a picture place. So if you guys want, I can take pictures of you guys in front of the formation. All right. So as we walk and talk, I do want to tell you a story as we keep walking, because soldiers, Civil War soldiers, did come into this cave, as I mentioned before, and there was an account of soldiers actually coming in, standing by George Washington, and then they took their rifles, and for fun, they aimed down this hallway like a little firing squad and shot several volleys down this hallway. They were trying to see who was the sharpest of shooters, who was the best shot among them, because they're boys. And they actually did a pretty good job of shooting formations off. I don't know why you would actually do this, because the bullets would ricochet back and around all over the place. They were lead bullets, so they would lose their velocity a lot quicker than maybe a metal round would. But I'm going to show you what they were shooting at. It starts right over here. You guys see these stalactites that broke off?
Yeah.
All of these they used to break off. And then also, if it wasn't enough, you can see all these peppered ricochet marks.
Where they missed.
Where they missed, and it bounced off this column. It's pretty wild to think about. This is definitely why men don't live as long as women. But they were having fun, so who could blame them? Because all they were given were guns, right? So.
Well, and like you said, they were boys.
They were boys.
Yeah.
All right, really quick, I want to talk about that war I told you about. Or not war, sorry, the battle I told you about. This individual I do know something about, so he's the only guy I know something about. Captain, William W. Miles was the captain of the 14th Pennsylvania Cavalry. He was a Union soldier, and he was camped out on top of this hill. He came here on September 26, 1864 with his men, and he was camped out here. He came into the cave, looked around, had a tour. He also pulled a ladder up to this wall, climbed up it and wrote his name here with pencil. He did start with a little bit of knife work. You can see some knife carving here, but he did do pencil later. Part of the reason we think that happened was because he was ambushed on the hill by the Confederates very soon around the time that he got here. So the Confederates came and ambushed him, and he had to rush out and fight a battle, and he was promoted to major for that battle. So he's captain in this writing, but after that, major. And he was actually pulled off of the hill because he had to retreat his men. He was not ready for them. They kind of caught them with their pants down, essentially. So he did pull his men off, and then they went to Winchester after this, and he got ambushed again there by Mosby's Rangers. And Mosby's Rangers actually did take W.W. Miles's life there, so it's a sad story because it's only 5 months before the war ended, so he almost made it to the end of the war. But of all places in the world, we like to remember him in this cave because he did come here and he wrote his name out. The soldier who attacked him, his name was Captain Asa Rogers. He was the 1st Virginia cavalryman, and he actually came in after he fought the battle with Miles and won the hill. He came in, had a tour himself, and signed his name. And not that far away, in fact, he pulled up a ladder. His ladder was shorter, and it was over here, and he wrote his name, Captain Asa Rogers, right here. A little bit more hard to read, but it's still there. If he had known that if he had a taller ladder, he could see that W.W. Miles is right there.
beat him to it.
He would have crossed his name out for sure. That's what we've seen them do before. But pretty cool to see. Once you do get a good look at this, you can go to the next room. Just don't go down the ramp for me. But yeah, and as far as that, this is a fern. This is a spore plant. It does grow here the same way that the algae does. This is the one plant that's hard to justify killing because it's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's a low light plant. It grows here year round, actually. So it's pretty crazy.
It is kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
What'd you think?
I think it's very cool and it's very fascinating whenever I see something that nature has to offer that's unique.
Especially stuff that old, right?
Yeah, it just intrigues me a lot. But I wonder if all the caves look the same, or is it
Similar?
Alright.
There's the characteristics that you'll see in common.
I think I'll have more to comment once I visit Luray Caverns as well.
Excellent. We'll make a day of it. Let's go.
But I also think if I go to Luray Caverns and it's the same, I feel like it's the same thing. So it's very pretty. It's very unique. It's so unfortunate that we cannot touch anything
Well,
because
that's very much on purpose.
I know, I understand. I have seen what it does, all that marks. It's very pretty. It's too tempting to touch it though, I swear. But I think he did a very excellent job at explaining.
he did an
I
excellent
really liked, at least for the first timer, I felt...
You felt informed.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did a very good job.
Well, I think...
I wish I had been recording at the end where he was like, what was his name again? Ah, shit.
Eric?
He was like, if you enjoyed the tour, my name is this, and this has been Grand Caverns, and if you didn't, my name is John, and this has been
Luray
Luray
Caverns.
Caverns. Yeah.
That's it. Let's head to Luray Caverns.
Yeah. Alright, where are we?
Luray Caverns.
Luray Caverns.
Exhausted.
Exhausted. Oh no.
It's very pretty. Just my new ring.
Yes, right.
Setting down standards, huh?
Yeah. Well, the entrance itself is very different from the previous one.
Yep.
And we do not have a guided tour.
Okay.
So,
We're gonna have to guide ourselves.
yeah, I think having gone there first
That's very good.
is
yeah.
very helpful for me, at least for the
Yes.
first timer, to understand this better. Had I come here first with zero knowledge about what is unique, or what is the history behind it, and how much effort it takes, or how long it takes for a small bit to like grow or like turn into this cave, how long it takes. I think I'll be missing a lot of information.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. I think I'm still grateful for the first tour guide.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was good.
Yes. Welcome to Luray Caverns, Virginia.
Virginia. I thought it was just Va. You're smart. I like that the camera picks this up immediately, but it got so much darker in this room than it was out there. Like, just for reference. Bright. Beautiful cave darkness.
You talked about cave darkness, but that reminds me of Grand Caverns because when he turned off the camera and we all closed, like there were no lights, it exactly feels like us closing our eyes.
Yeah.
And it's pitch dark.
Oh yeah. It's an unmistakable dark. It's a dark you don't experience.
My God, it's fun to experience, but if you get lost in the cave, it's horrible. It's gonna be a nightmare.
That was
How y'all
good.
doing?
Hello.
Just a few easy guidelines. Self-guided, you can videotape whatever, but please no touching to the formations, ceilings, or walls. You should have got a numbered pamphlet. Numbered pamphlet matches the brown and white signs. If you did not, I have extras on the wall right there. That gives you your history, and obviously stay on the correct side of the railings.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is still formatted.
Yep.
This is new. That information is really helpful to understand that which part is brand new versus, oh, this is like, it's been an old one.
Yeah. The deposits and everything. Oh, that was excellent.
It's very pretty. Wow. I never knew that caves could be like this big.
Where you going?
I was thinking I was an employee here.
Oh.
All right, Dream Lake. Did they create this artificially? The covers?
Yes. Can you see?
That's, oh wow. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Very pretty. Oh wow. That looks really pretty.
Hey.
This is called Pluto's Ghost.
Okay.
I
I guess
don't know.
once Pluto stopped being a planet, he needed to have a ghost. noise.
The ripples.
Like little waves.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Oh yeah. Ooh, look at that. You see the topple? The thing that fell? There.
Oh my god. Oh, wow.
You can see it fell and then it continued to form more rock afterwards.
Yeah.
That had to have happened a long time ago. That's really cool. Oh, Daddy boy, the pipes are calling. From land to land and down the mountainside. The summer's come and all the flowers are gathering. It's you, must go and time must pass.
That was amazing. It sounded really good.
Thank you.
With the echo, especially in here.
Yeah, the acoustics in that room were fantastic.
I hope the camera caught it, but great. Do they have a music system there?
Yeah, it's an organ, pipe organ.
Is it good for?
The acoustics in this particular one? Yeah. When the valleys hush and white with snow.
I think I'm still a lot impressed with Grand Cavern than this, because even when you say it has a venue space there, it actually felt like you're marrying or getting married, or you know, the event would be in a cave. It has that aura to it. It has that.
They probably changed the lighting, yeah, but yeah, no, it definitely has the feel. Yes, okay, I see what you're talking about.
The feel.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that here. Yeah, you definitely have a set around you for sure, but
But yeah, it's almost too big.
yeah.
Which I don't say lightly about a cavern. That's one of the big draws to a cavern for people coming is seeing it that big. Especially people who know caves.
Here.
How did you like that real rock music?
Okay.
Hey, by the Stones.
I
don't know.
I hope they're not rolling.
I think your puns are hitting rock bottom. I'm sorry.
Scott, don't take my jokes for granted. That's going to be your 1 mile marker at that point.
We're back to Pluto's ghost.
Thank you.
Where?
Take care.
Down.
Please do not touch.
Did you see they're almost touching?
Give it a couple more years.
Yeah.
Probably 100.
A couple more centuries? Yeah.
Wishing well. Oh wow. Okay, probably they had lights.
Look at the. What kind of heathens throw a dollar bill into a wishing well?
Oh my
lot. $1 bills.
At the end of the year,
Like somebody missed the assignment is what happened.
yeah, there's like dollars.
Instead of coins.
They think it's a lot.
Oh my God, they collected
Yeah, coins. That's
Awards of international and regional
When
companies.
my son started, and
Oh
other
my
people put it
just in
on.
those 6 years.
Where the money is.
Yeah.
This is kind of neat. Look right.
Oh wow. That's it. How long is this?
So I said a mile and a
is
half?
a mile and a quarter.
Mile and a
The
quarter,
cavern is approximately 67 acres. You saw about 48 of it.
Cool.
It's the largest cavern on the East Coast.
Nice.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's really
Thank
helpful.
you.
So we did almost
2.5 miles?
no more than 2.5. The first one was 1.5.
Oh, 2.75. 2 and 3 unless you come back there.
It
and
is
finish.
pretty cool that you could see water level marks there. It is.
Oh, in the other cave you're talking about?
Yeah. I still hold that very precious to me. That
Okay.
is, I like that. I'm so glad we, on the way to here, found that.
Oh, no.
I'm so glad. Yes, and I'm so glad we could make a trip out of it. It's so worth it.